Why is weights for sprinting so goddamn hit and miss?
Yeah.
We're told that hard work equals success. Well, weights is hard work, so how come someone can kill themselves in the weights room over a winter and just not see those big improvements?
Yeah.
And why can someone else not work as hard and get more success?
Yeah.
Why can you lift more than your training partner in the weights room and yet they spank you on the track?
Yeah!
And also, how can top sprinters be really quite weak relatively in the weights room and yet run these elite times?
Well, not me, I'm strong as hell. And ran 9.2 for the 100 last week. And timed.
But yeah! I am going to try and answer all of those questions in one hit.
Woohoo! Free college! Wisdom springs! Wisdom springs!
Preach! Testify! Now, sprinting is a 100% neural activity. It's your nervous system. Now, increasing the size of your muscle may be great for the camera or intimidating the competition, but that size increase, unfortunately in sprinting, is an unfortunate side effect of the training.
But having bigger muscles means you can apply more force, and that makes you faster.
Well, not necessarily. You see, a bigger muscle that's not neurally innervated properly is just more meat weight that you've got to carry around. That's making you slower. It's basically like sprinting with half a kilo of pork chops stuffed down your shorts. Like I said, great for the camera. I think the best way to think about sprinting is electricity. Now, have you ever gone and got yourself an electric shock off static, or touched an electric fence, or even stuck your fingers in the plug socket?
Electrical.
You jump because the muscles fire, and that is an external electric source. The brain is an internal electric source. It produces this electricity which then travels down the wires of your body, which are called neurons, making the muscles at the end of them jump, or as Professor Science would say, contract. Now, I haven't called this next section science time because well, it's just not very sciencey. Weights is hit and miss because of a phenomenon called activation. And activation is basically internal electric shocks that you create shocking you. Activation of the muscle is caused by an electrical impulse going down the nerve to the muscle, causing it to contract. It's basically like an internal electric shock that you have control over.
So what, I'm like electro. I can feel the power.
You can influence the frequency and the strength of these self-inflicted electric shocks, which will cause the muscle fibers to contract. But, like any good electrician will tell you, it's all about the wiring. One shock can make 10 fibers contract, or 100. And the difference depends on how well you're wired. But you've also got to bear in mind that lots of fibers just won't contract. You know when they talk about it's only using like 40 to 60% of our total contractile power? This is because if we used 100% of it, we would risk damaging our tendons and snapping our bones. But we do know that people in extreme circumstances can produce some extreme feats of strength. Right now, in your body, there's enough muscle fibers to do some unbelievable things. The thing you're missing is the unbelievable circumstances to create those contractions. So let's just say that you could get yourself to believe that these extreme circumstances were real. Now imagine if Wally Whackjob, who prays to the god of iron, starts hearing voices, Abraham and Isaac style, and those voices are telling him,
Lift your weight over your infant son to prove you fear me, love me. Same difference.
Now, Wally has the motivation to theoretically get his muscles to activate at higher and higher percentages as the weights get heavier and heavier. Hopefully. And we also know that the greater the load, the greater the stimulus. And therefore, theoretically, the greater the activation. But this is where the problem with compound movements come in. Compound movements are multi-joint. So, if you give the body 3 joints to move, and it activates the muscles really well in 2 of the joints, but not so well in the third, do you think that the body's going to spread the load evenly between the 3? Or do you think it's going to overload the 2 and leave the third one twisting in the wind? The body, like Wally Sr., is a bad parent, and the sin of the body is that it plays favourites. Sprinting is a compound movement. While it's true that translation between one compound movement and another compound movement tends to be greater than an isolation movement to a compound movement, this is only the case if the muscles are in balance and they're activating correctly. So, what affects activation? Well, while range of movement is important and technique is vital, these are just merely chapters in the overall definitive textbook called The Bible on how to achieve better, fuller activation. So let's look at the first few chapters. Activation is affected by injury, posture, and joint position. Now, we are kind of getting into the field here of chiropractic and osteopathic, but one of the reasons why these types of interventions are so popular among sports people and also people with pain is that when you manually shift the joint back into a better position, even if it's just temporarily, you're improving the activation to the muscle. And dry needling and even massage itself, which works directly on the muscle, is effectively just trying to switch the muscle from a state where it can't be activated back to a state where it can be. In those cases, the muscle fiber is still in use. It's kind of like a blocked toilet where the person's so embarrassed by what they've left, they've crawled under the stool and they left the door locked. Massage and dry needling is then kind of like the lavatory attendant that's then got to crawl back under the stool and pull the chain just so the loo can be used again. The problem is that these interventions are temporary and passive, and what you need is permanent and active.
Yeah, but if I flush my own bog, I'm doing someone out of a job.
Now, I can see the benefit of these interventions, but only if you've got a system that afterwards is going to make permanent these temporary improvements. Otherwise, you're either just using these treatments to replace the activities that you would need to do in order to keep your body healthy, or worse than that, you're just using it to mask your shoddy training practices. But none of these methods deal with the most persistent and difficult problem to resolve. That of the underactive muscle that is not neurally innervated enough and doesn't want to get with the program. AKA the, I was off on long-term sick, but now you're forcing me to be here and I don't want to participate muscle. You can have work-shy fibers and work-shy muscles, and these need a whole program of their own in order to get them back into the workforce. But this Bible had its own little council at Nicaea Gym, 325 Ad Avenue, Peckham, South London, where they too seem to lose a whole load of chapters that might have made a big difference to the understanding, namely these chapters here. Unfortunately, what survived were chapters including Load the Bar to High Heaven and chapter 11, which says the set don't stop till the rapture starts. Now, these advanced techniques can lead to increased activation, but before you take these high-risk activation strategies, you need to be aware of these lost scrolls. And unfortunately, it's because these scrolls got burnt in the name of consensus rather than your best interests that you don't know about them. But you do now, and it explains why cleans can be great for some, but make no difference to others. There's your reason why deadlifts and squats make some faster, while many just get slower. Now you've got the reason why lunges done one way will help you from 40 meters onwards, whilst doing it another way will just help you over the first 10 meters. And you also now know why even lunges for some will just make no difference, and why some will report it in their quads, while others feel it in their glutes. Compound exercises don't activate dysfunctional muscles. They preferentially choose stronger muscles in that complex. And yet, athletes with real muscle imbalances and underactive or non-activated muscles gravitate towards the compound movements. This worsens the problem and can explain why a winter of weights can oftentimes end up in a summer of sobbing. And that's why someone can work less hard than you in the weights room and get more success than you on the track. They may be doing less sessions than you, even less weight, but they're getting more activation than you are.
So that's why Usain's got my world record. Officially. You've hit me with some knowledge.
And just a thought, the reason why sprinters can carve up the track but not be amazing in the weights room is because sprinting itself will make you average in the weights room but not amazing. So why would weights make you anything more than average on the track? I hope this helps. Bust me a thumbs up, because let me tell you something.
Bustin' makes me feel good.
Chat away in the comments, babe. And if you like my vibe, please subscribe.
Woo!